Yes, gas is $2.98 for a gallon right now. That's the
Woo!
average price in the United States. It's the lowest point since it's been since the pandemic in 2020. Joining us now to tell us more about all of this is a representative from Gas Buddy, an app for tracking fuel prices, Mr. Patrick Haan. Patrick, welcome to the afternoon shift. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on, Patrick. Can you tell us why are gas prices at all-time lows right now?
Yeah, there's a lot going on. I think the highest level, though, a lot of this has to do with OPEC this year, increasing oil production. OPEC, the consortium of about a dozen countries that controls about a third of the world's total oil supply. And so when OPEC decides to make a strategic shift, in this case, increasing oil production, that can have a heavy impact on the price of oil, which, of course, oil, the predominant ingredient in gasoline. So whatever happens to oil has a ripple effect on what you and I pay at the pump. OPEC increasing production, putting more oil in the market has depressed the value of crude oil, and that's led to the decline. Of course, seasonal factors too. Americans simply don't drive as much as temperatures cool off. I've yet to see parents taking their kids out of school to travel down Route 66 when the flurries start to fly. So, lower demand and also the changeover to winter gasoline, all kind of part of why we're seeing gas prices decline.
OPEC is also what it's called when I flex, because everybody's like,
Oh.
"Oh, damn! Look at those guns right there." So
Yeah.
I didn't know that was
And
also
the pectoral muscles,
yeah,
too.
of
the
course,
pecs,
yeah.
yes,
That's what I knew
yes,
that.
yes.
I knew that. Of course, I knew that because I'm a fitness guru. I knew that. I was just testing you
Right,
to make
of
sure that you
course,
knew
of
that.
course, yes.
I'm curious. Is it OPEC? Like, who is deciding the price of gas? Is it kind of something that's just like decided through a chain? Is it OPEC themselves? Like, who is it? One singular guy that's just like, well, the price of gas is this today. Who is actually deciding the price of gas?
Yeah, OPEC likes to flex its muscles too, and that's what they're doing this time around. And they're saying, hey, you know what? We've had enough of the U.S. increasing oil production. It's our turn now. So OPEC is a consortium of countries that include Russia. That's OPEC plus. Russia is not officially a member of OPEC, but that's what the plus has become. Is they're kind of a de facto member. Saudi Arabia, other major oil producers throughout areas like Africa, Nigeria, Guinea, Kazakhstan. Basically, a lot of the world's largest oil producers are members of OPEC, and they kind of set policy based on their kind of joint interests. A lot of the time, countries like Saudi Arabia like to have the cooperation of other countries so that they basically can support the price of oil, right? It's an organization that wants to balance its agenda with the global price of oil. So when oil prices have gotten too low, OPEC produces less. That then pushes oil prices back up. So, kind of complicated now, though. It's an agenda that varies country to country. Some countries don't always see eye to eye. Some countries want to produce more, some countries want to produce less. They all have to kind of get down to the same table and figure that out.
Patrick, you know what's so interesting, and going off that question about who sets the price of gas, here in Eden Prairie, Minnesota, on Flying Cloud, there's two gas stations. There's a Mobile and a Holiday, and both of them always have different gas prices. So I understand that there's an average price, but can each gas station say that this is going to be the price of our 87 unleaded fuel? Because they always have different prices, and they're right across the street from each other.
Yeah, first and foremost, the price that the stations are paying is all kind of contingent on when they're buying. Oil is something that we see on the market, right? It fluctuates in price every day. The average station, maybe in Minnesota, fills their underground tanks every 2 to 3 days. So if the price of oil's gone up, one station may pay more. If the price of oil's gone down, station may pay less. And that's just a very high level. I mean, it can also vary if there's been any refinery issues, which is actually the case here. Late last week, one of the largest refineries down in Northwest Indiana caught fire. Events like that cause a big sudden jolt or increase in the wholesale price that stations pay. So, to your point, stations have, their margin. They're essentially taking something that they buy at a wholesale level, they mark it up, the cost of doing business, competition, and then that's the retail price. So they have control over the margin, but they don't really have any control over the underlying cost that may fluctuate depending on regional factors, refineries, the price of oil, et cetera.
I'm curious about that volatility with the prices there. Is Minnesota, where is Minnesota considered in terms of like stability? Are gas prices kind of just like, kind of on a steady line here? Or like, where are some of the more volatile places of gas prices in the world?
I would say a lot of us are kind of baseline volatile, but there are markets that are hyper competitive. Areas of the Great Lakes now that used to really bring in the Twin Cities when you had stations that were operated by one owner. They would always kind of fluctuate at the same time. So areas like Michigan, Indiana, Ohio are very volatile because stations are kind of waging a low-level price war on a daily basis. Americans, are very price sensitive to gasoline, and so stations in those areas always want to have the lowest price, and so they kind of are undercutting each other on a daily basis. One station will undercut, the other station matches, they undercut again, and a lot of that brings in volatility. Stations are constantly lowering prices, well, until they can no longer have room to lower prices. That's when they all suddenly kind of reset their prices all at the same time, and then the price war begins again. So areas of the Great Lakes, Florida, Texas, Colorado, they all engage in this behavior that really kind of started in areas of the Great Lakes, including the Twin Cities. We call this price phenomenon price cycling. Those are the areas where they see the most volatility.
Patrick, is gasoline different at different stations? Like, if you're buying gasoline from Mobil or Shell or BP, and they all kind of market it that they have, Invigorate or whatever sort of catchwords that they have, is that gasoline, if it's just 87, is it the exact same if you're buying it at any of these stations versus Costco or some of these other places too?
Yeah, most of that gasoline is coming out of a finite amount of refineries, and Minnesota's got a couple of refineries down in Pine Bend. So, there are a couple different options, but the basic formulation of 87 regular gasoline is very consistent. It always has to meet federal standards. There's very, very long books that could probably bore you as much as C-SPAN does in terms of, hearing what these books contain, but that's kind of the formulation. Now, you describe additives. Some stations will add different things to their gasoline. They'll give it catchy terminology. There may be more detergents in that gasoline to help propel your car to run further or to run cleaner or to reduce the amount of contaminants or things that are left behind. So those are kind of on top of whatever the base fuel is. And they market them, completely different. Yeah, Shell has V Power. You mentioned, I think BP has Invigorate. So there's different words for these different additive packages. But yeah, there can be subliminal differences, but at the base, the end of the day, the foundation for gasoline is very similar, if not the same.
Patrick, we tend to, as consumers, like whether it's fair or unfair, kind of put these gas prices, whether positively or negatively, on politicians, right? Oh, well, so-and-so, when so-and-so was here, these prices were lower, these prices were higher, blah, blah, blah. You can pit it for whatever narrative that you're trying to push. But how much does policy really affect gas prices? And are these low prices because of any one particular policy?
Well, I mean, let's be honest, right? Politicians love to take credit for things that probably aren't theirs to take credit for. And then I guess the other side of the aisle likes to blame politicians when things don't go perfectly. So at the end of the day, it's kind of convoluted. Like, when do we blame politicians? At the end of the day, US politicians, I mean, keep in mind the price of oil, it's a global commodity. The US, just one of, almost 200 countries across the globe. So what happens here? I mean, we're a big consumer, we're a big producer. So what happens here can have an impact, but a president of all, I like to remind people that policy is policy. It's not law. The US can have a policy that's more friendly for oil producers, but that does not compel oil producers to react. So at the end of the day, in 20 years of doing this, right now, maybe 5 or 10% at most, a US president can take credit for or be blamed for. Ultimately, at the end of the day, this is the beauty of economics, supply and demand. And what happens in the US when our prices go up or down too, it probably is happening globally as well. Back in 2022, it wasn't just our president that, people blame for high gas prices. It was happening globally.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that the sort of the war of words that goes on. It's been
Right.
gas and eggs. Those seem to be kind of the two things that everybody kind of gets around. Patrick, is there a chance that gas prices could drop even further here than they already are?
Well, I do think there's the chance that will happen. I will say, we have seen a little bit of increase starting to develop in areas. As I mentioned, there was a refinery fire last week that could temporarily boost prices, but these issues don't usually last more than a few weeks or maybe a month. I do think as we get closer to Thanksgiving and Christmas, we will see some of those ultra low prices, or what feels like ultra low now. 20 years ago, that was record setting. But yeah, I think we'll get back down below the $3 mark. If any stations have gone up above that, we'll probably see gas prices more in the mid to upper $2 level through really the end of the year. So look for some of these low prices to stick around, though we are seeing a little bit of an increase here over the last few days related to that refinery outage.
Patrick, now you can always find the low prices with Gas Buddy, the good work that you guys do over there. Could you just tell the people what Gas Buddy is and what you guys do over there?
Yeah, we've been around 25 years. Our app and our website helps motorists find the cheapest gallon near them. I guess it's my good Dutch heritage that I really don't like overspending on gas. And that's what the Gas Buddy app will do, is it'll show you gas prices wherever you may be. Hopefully it'll help drive you to those lower price stations where you save some money.
Patrick Haan from Gas Buddy. We appreciate you, Patrick. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thanks. Gas